Hello, ODT families. In today's video, we are going to be going over understanding how divisions and how levels work in the All-Star cheerleading world. We'll also be going over some of the leveling expectations and what is in there. If you read the document above, I'm going to be covering a lot of the same things. I'm not going to be going into crazy detail in this video, but this is just to give you a general understanding, especially if you are new to All-Star cheerleading or you're just wanting to build your knowledge base of what happens in All-Star cheerleading. So there are a couple things that we look at when we're looking in All-Star cheer. The first is divisions categories. So we have fundamentals programs, which fundamentals is a more recreational side. It's a 4-month program. It is actually something that was developed by the USASF, which is the United States All-Star Federation. That is the main governing body that we fall under in All-Star cheerleading. They created this as a way to get more people involved in All-Star Cheer. So the fundamentals program is something that we do run. What we refer to as classic is often we compete them as novice. Novice competes on a different level than prep or elite teams in that when they are scored, they are given a final evaluation of outstanding, superior, and excellent, and those are really how they end up scoring. So they don't do summit bids, they don't do things of that nature. They're just evaluated and scored, and then they receive, based off of that final score, that outstanding, superior, or excellent. Next, you have prep teams. Now, prep teams were originally created before there was the novice divisions and before there was the fundamentals division, and prep was supposed to be a less expensive way to get involved into cheerleading. They practiced less, they only competed one day, and it was not necessarily as serious as traveling elite teams. And then what ended up happening, as tends to happen anytime there's competition involved, is programs started practicing a whole ton with their prep teams because they could go compete at NCAA Nationals and win NCAA. And so it just became much more competitive than it originally started out as. And if you were going to be a competitive prep team, you really needed to be competing or practicing year round, just like an elite team was. And maybe you could practice one day less a week, but overall, you needed to be practicing a whole lot to be competitive. And it just kind of, some people love prep, but it kind of lost its identity. It's now just kind of an intermediary between prep and or novice and elite. And it absolutely can be great. We don't really have prep in our program. It hasn't been a great fit for us and what we want to do. Prep also has some very weird levels. You can do, everything is a 0.1, and we'll talk about that in a second when we talk leveling for the elite teams. But they have level 1.1, which is level 1 stunting, level 1 tumbling, and then level 1.2, which is level 1 stunting, level 2 tumbling, and level 1.3, which is level 1 stunting and level 3 tumbling. And then they do the same thing: 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, reversing it. So now it's level 3 stunts versus level 1 tumbling. And it just is kind of odd. So we don't really dabble too much in the prep area. There are some programs locally that are super successful at it, and kudos on them. It's just not something we focus on in our company at this point in time. Could we change? Yes, but at this point, that's not really where we focus. And then you have your elite divisions. Elite divisions are those year-round, oftentimes traveling competitive teams. They are eligible for things like summit bids. If they're a world's team, they're eligible for world's bids. And it is more competitive in general. They are allowed to do kind of the full spectrum of things, and the levels are what I'm going to talk about here in a second in how they're defined. After you look at those different categories, then there are divisions, and those divisions are mini, youth, junior, senior, senior open, international, etc., etc., etc. There's also like U17. We don't have that in our program. I'm not going to go too into depth of things that we don't have in our gym because that will just muddy the waters and make things more confusing. So those differentiations differentiations. Between and actually there's tiny, between tiny, mini, youth, junior, and senior open all relate to age ranges. And most of them are going to have a bottom age and a top age. And then anywhere in between, you can kind of have your athletes placed within those age brackets, but you can't go below and you can't go above. And that is to make things reasonable, a little bit more fair in terms of what teams are allowed to perform. So you aren't getting 16-year-olds lifting 9-year-olds. Well, actually, that's not true. You can't get that in junior. But so you're not getting 18-year-olds lifting 8-year-olds. There you go. See, I get some of this stuff wrong. So in tiny, that's just your littles, and that's your super young ages. Mini, again, that's your younger ages. I believe it's 6 to 9, and then junior, youth, you can go 7 to 10. I would have to double check. I don't have the document up. But I can get that to you. You can also find it by just Googling the USASF age rubric, which I can actually do right now. And I'm just doing this live, you guys. I'm not going to edit this and do a whole bunch of confusingness for y'all. I actually have this on my computer too. I don't know why I'm Googling it, but we're going to pull it up. So, and actually I can screen share it with you so you guys can kind of see what we look at. So here let's see if I'm going to screen share the right screen. It's not the right screen, but we're going to get you the right one. Here we go. All right, let's look at this. So this is, as I've mentioned, you've got those elite, international, prep, novice, cheer abilities, fundamentals. And we do have cheer abilities in our program. So going down here, this is those different divisions, and it basically is just those age ranges. So this is the elite tier. So tiny, you've got 5 to 6 year olds. Mini, you've got 6 to 8. Youth, you've got 6 to 11. Junior, you have 7 to 15. Senior, you have 12 to 18. Now, when I mentioned you don't get 18-year-olds lifting, or you don't get 16-year-olds lifting 8-year-olds, on junior you can see that because the target range is 7 to 15, but depending on when they turn 16, they may be 16 during the year. So everything they do is birth years. Is what they're looking at, and I'll go down to the grid that we look at there. So that's levels 1, level 2. So there's no level 2 tiny. You have to be mini. There's no level 3 mini. You have to be at a youth age. And then from there is level 4 youth exists. Level 5 youth does exist, but level 6 only goes down to junior. And that is just to prevent injury and also progress athletes in the healthiest manner they can. All right, scrolling past all that. So at the bottom of this thing is actually the grid. This is what we use when we're determining the birth year to see what teams athletes are eligible for. And so you've got 2002 or before, they're only eligible for open teams. And then 1/1 of 2003, 5/31 of 2003, they're again eligible for senior open, and then 6/1 of 03 to 12/31 of 03 being they would be eligible for senior open, senior 6 and senior 5, and then these are birth years, right, or birth dates. So then 04 is eligible for this, 05 eligible for this, 06 eligible for this. So we just kind of follow that grid. And that's what tells us whether or not athletes are eligible for a particular age division. So that's what we look at when we're determining age ranges and what is reasonable for placing athletes into those different age ranges. Now, our goal is always to build the most competitive teams we can, and we look at a number of different things. Many years ago, it used to be kind of like, well, if you're not on a senior team, you're not on a good team. And that's now, I think, gone away. And most people have no problem whether or not they're on junior or senior. Most of our clients understand that it doesn't really matter whether you're on a youth or a junior or a senior if you're throwing kind of in that skill category that you're looking for. So a junior 3 is not necessarily lesser than a senior 3 versus a junior 4 would not necessarily be lesser than a senior 4. They have their pros and cons and different challenges that come with each. So there are a lot of things that we look at, but we do absolutely assess what is the athlete's individual maturity as well as the parents' comfortability, because when you start to go up to those senior ages, those athletes are going to be around athletes that are 18 years old. Some of them will turn 19 during the season, which means that, a 11-year-old is having very different developmental conversations than an 18-year-old. And it takes a certain level of maturity to be around kids of that age. And trust me, I know, because my own daughter is on a junior team, but she was 8 last year, turned 9, and she was friends with girls that were 15. In fact, she's had sleepovers at girls' houses who are freshmen in high school. So it is kind of a weird and wide age gap. And those are just things that we want to factor in when we're looking at teams in general. However, in the kind of program that we are, which is a D2 program, meaning we have a less than 125 athletes, some of the decisions we make when determining those divisions is based off how many athletes of that skill set, of that age range do we have. So, and I'll talk about more when we talk about team placements, but we have to look at all those factors. Are we going to make a senior team because there's one person who is only senior eligible versus make a junior team where there's lots of people who are eligible for that team, and maybe making a senior team makes it so 7 people can't be on that level versus making it a senior or making it a junior team means that one senior person can't be on that team and we find them a different team. So those are the different considerations that kind of have to be made in understanding all those different divisions and levels. All right, so let's talk levels because I'm going to talk all that other stuff when we talk team placements. So levels are super critical when we are factoring in where we place athletes, because there's 2 different factors to it. There is a tumbling level and a stunting level, and they don't always coincide. We absolutely have seen athletes who have elite, great tumbling. This happens the most in kind of the level 4, 5, 6 category, where you have people who've maybe been trained in gymnastics or maybe done a lot of tumbling classes, and they're great tumblers, but they aren't necessarily experienced stunters. And that can sometimes limit their progression in the sport and limit their participation in all the aspects of the routine if they are not able to stunt. So level 1, what that generally refers to is the tumbling skills that you're going to see in level 1 are skills that are back walkovers. That is the backward tumbling skill, front walkovers for the front tumbling skill, and no really bounding, fast running tumbling. So you're going to see cartwheel, back walkover. Things that start going forward and end going backwards are considered running tumbling, but they're not punching off of their toes. They're actually not allowed to do any sort of back rotating skill without there being a deliberate pause out of like a round off, because then it would be a punch. So that's what we're looking at is back walkovers, cartwheel back walkovers, front walkovers, etc. for tumbling. And then for stunting, most of their stunting is going to be done at prep level with 2 feet, or if they're on 1 foot, they actually have to have their hand connected to another person who's on the ground that's not a base or directly involved in the stunt in some way. Or you're going to see things at waist level where they are not at prep level. So they're holding it kind of at the level of their belly button. This is to learn how to stunt. This is to learn for flyers to learn how to fly, how to hold their body weight. And I will tell you, some of the most impressive teams in the country, some of the most creative teams that I've ever seen are level 1 teams. So level 1 is a really, really competitive division. It's a lot of fun to watch. Even though it's the beginner level, it is still very, very impressive. And because teams master the skills in terms of the difficulty, then they focus on the execution and the creativity of how they do it. And I've watched level 1 teams where I'm trying to figure out how they're legally doing the things that they are, because they look like they're a level 3 team or etc. That's kind of always the goal, is at those lower levels when you're stunning. You want to look like you're doing level 5 skills when you're a level 3, even though you're not. You're just making it look that way. So then level 2, we're talking for tumbling, standing back handspring and back walkover back handsprings. But in level 2, you are not allowed to do connected back handspring. So you can't do a back handspring. There has to be some sort of skill in between the first back handspring and the second back handspring. You also cannot do any sort of a jump, so a toe touch, a hurdle, or anything like that into a back handspring. That would also make it illegal. But you can do a T-jump back handspring. So that's standing tumbling. And then running tumbling, again, back handspring. So anything that's coming off of the hands, but now they can connect them. So you'll see round off double back handsprings, front handspring step out through to round off double back handspring, bounce back round off back handsprings, all sorts of different combinations involving round off back handsprings and fly springs and front bounders. Stunting wise in level 2, there are no releases allowed. At extended level, they must be on 2 feet. At prep level, they can be on 1 foot. They are allowed to do 1 half twisting transition, so they can do a half up, half twisting transition to extended 2 feet. But otherwise, they can't do an extended layup or things of those natures. Those are illegal unless they're doing a pyramid, and then there's all sorts of rules for pyramids. In level 3, we're talking about standing tumbling handspring series, also with things in the middle of them. So you can do back handspring, toe touch, back handspring, or back handspring, toe touch, back handspring, back walkover, back handspring, anything that's combining series handsprings into tumbling. Then for running tumbling, you have your punch fronts, you have your round of handspring tucks, you have your front handspring step out through to tucks, you have aerials, you have a variety of running tumbling skills that fall into your level 3. That start to get a little bit more creative and fun. But this is the first level that we start introducing flipping without our hands connected to the ground. Level 4, you have standing tumbling, you have standing tucks, and you have standing handsprings into tucks. So standing back handspring back tuck, series handsprings back tuck, standing back tuck, an onodi, which most people don't know what it is. An onodi is a twisting and flipping skill for standing, tumbling, and running. It involves sitting like you're going to go into a back handspring, jumping, performing a half turn, and instead of doing a back handspring, you actually half turn and do a front walkover, a front handspring out of it. So it's a very unique skill, introducing twisting into standing tumbling. Running tumbling, your baseline skill is a layout, and then from there, you're looking for specialties into layouts. Level 4 is the first level where you can connect 2 flipping skills in a running tumbling pass. So you can do whip, back handspring, back tuck, or whip, tuck, or punch front through to round off handspring layout. There's a whole bunch of different varieties now as you can get more creative with those level 4 skills. Level 4 stunting involves I didn't cover level 3 stunting. Going back to level 3. Level 3 stunting is extended one leg stunts, some full twisting to prep level, some releases to prep level so they can start on the ground and release on the way up and catch at prep. And then in basket tosses, they can do full twisting basket tosses and full twisting dismounts. Going back to level 4, the stunting, you can start seeing full twisting transitions to 1 foot extended. You can see 1.5 twisting transitions to prep level, and you can start seeing releases from below prep level, which is at that collarbone. So from below that to the extended level 1 foot, you start to see inversions and double twisting skills in dismounts and transitions. Level 4.2 is a really unique level. What that means is it's level 4 stunting and level 2 tumbling. So that's 4.2. That's what it stands for. Level 4 stunting, level 2 tumbling. So if you think back to what I was saying was allowed in level 2 tumbling, that's allowed in 4.2 tumbling. And what I said was legal in level 4 stunting is allowed in 4.2 stunting. And that's how that is decided. Level 4.2 is a only senior eligible division. They only have senior teams in 4.2. Level 5 is standing tumbling to a layout and running tumbling to a full twist with a variety of extended and releasing twisting stunts allowed. 2 trick and 1 twist baskets, and there are flipping pyramid skills. In level 6, that's when you're getting into standing tumbling to a twist, full or a double, specialty tumbling, so punch fronts, Arabians, things like that, into fulls, into double fulls. Double full is kind of the quintessential skill. This is when you can perform standing fulls, and the options really open up when it comes to tumbling. The only thing you can't do is you cannot do a single standing back handspring to a double full, and you cannot do any double rotating skills, so no double backs or anything like that. With stunts, you can do twisting, 2 twists to an extended level 1-footed stunt. You can do multiple twisting dismounts, double twisting dismounts, kick double baskets, high to high release moves, so extended level stunts, releasing at the top and switching feet. Really, the options are almost endless. Although, because the options are endless and there are rules, there's actually a lot of really easy ways to get yourself into the legality realm of getting a penalty for performing a skill that is what we would call illegal. And when we say that the skill is illegal, we just mean that based off of the rules, it is not allowed. So if like you, it's like shooting a free throw but stepping across the foul line, right? You can't step closer, but maybe it happened by accident, or in football, trying to performing an illegal motion or something like that. It's not always intentional. Oftentimes it is accidental, but it does result in a deduction or a penalty. Level 7 is college level stunts. We're not going to go into too much detail on that. It's just that high flying when we can throw people from one side of the floor to the other and have them flip and get caught by other groups. So those are the different levels and the different divisions that we have. We're going to continue to have parent education. Please pay attention to those things as they come out. If you have any further questions, feel free to let me know, Tori know, or address them with your coaches. We'll be happy to try and provide as much knowledge as we can. This all can get very, very complicated, and we want to make sure that you have a good grasp of what it is that we're doing and what the levels encompass and the different divisions are. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.